This WordPress tutorial by Mark McLaren of McBuzz Communications is called How to Make a Link to a Specific Place in a WordPress Page or Post. And I'll show you what I mean by this. Here's the Business Blogging 101 website that we use for these tutorials, and I've created an example page and some links here. I'll blow this up a bit that say go to part 1, go to part 2, go to part 3, and here below on the page are part 1 and part 2 and part 3 somewhere right there. Okay, so let's try these out. Clicking on go to part 1, part 1 snaps to the top of the browser window, and the same is true for part 2. Go back to top here, and part 3. Okay, I've included back to top links. The previous tutorial shows you how to make those. There's another way to do this. If you're coming from a different page, you can also go to that same page, the example page in this case, and go to the separate sections on that page. So if I click, say, on go to example page part 3 here, okay, we snap to part 3 on the example page. Okay, let's go ahead and see how this is done. First I'll show you what it looks like in the HTML on the example page. Okay, I'm going to blow this up a little bit. Wow, that's quite a lot. Maybe too much. Okay, if we look at the code, there are two parts to this kind of a link. The first is to give the location on the page a name. Delete this part. Okay, you'll notice if you try this that WordPress inserts a little more code than you actually need, so don't worry about that. Here's the code and how it looks. Okay, quick lesson in HTML. Here is part 3 written with HTML tags on either side. Okay, this would make this part 3 text bold. The same is true here with a strong tag on either side. The closing tag has this /, and that would also make this part 3 text bold. Okay, in this case what we want to do is insert a name for the location, and you can call this anything you want. Here I'm calling it 3. Okay, so there's the code that we need to insert, as you can see here, and that is how it looks on the page. This one is for part 1, and so it's named just 1. Okay, the ones below that are named 2 and 3. Okay, the second part, creating the link itself, if you're on the same page, it looks like this. Okay, if you can see, I've created this. Okay, go to part 3, that's the text of the link, and then you need this piece, A, and then href equals quote #, and then the name. Okay, in this case 3. And on the other side, the closing tag, the A with the /. Okay, let me show you how this is done, inserted into the page. So we'll go back out, and we'll go to an example page. This is the example to do page. You can see here, separate page. Okay, so in the code for part 3, scroll down here and find that. There's part 3. We're going to insert the name, okay, which is this piece. Oops, sorry, this piece, not that one. Okay, so let's go put this in. Name equals 3. Okay, close that, and then the /A to close the tag like so. This anchor tag, this is where any kind of text would go. We don't need anything in there. We can just leave that empty. So you just have the tag, the name, in this case 3, and then the closing tag, and nothing inside between the two. Okay, so we're done with that part. And then we want to insert up top a link to that spot. Okay, and that looks like this. This one here. Okay, with the # and the href in the anchor tag. So let's try that. #3 and the quote, go to part 3 and close it. Okay, so you saw how that looks. We're all good to go now. Just doing the part 3 link for our example. Okay, if I go back here and we go to the example to-do page, there's our link. It says go to part 3. Click on that and it takes us right down to part 3. Okay. Now I'm going to go very fast to the contact us page, and we'll insert our link from there to our example to-do page. I'm running out of time. Okay, here's contact us. Okay, return, go to example to do page part 3. Okay, now this one's easier to do. You don't have to use the code window. I'm going to go back and get the address of our page, the example to do page, okay, up here, and it looks like that. And I'm going to go back to our dashboard. I'm going to, whoops, I'm going to highlight this text, click on the link, insert link button, paste in the name of the page, which is the example to-do page, with the full URL, okay, starting with HTTP, and then at the end of that, I'm just going to add the # and 3, the word 3, which is the name of the tag. Okay, insert, save. See if this works. Contact us page. Here's our link. Go to example to do page part 3. Click on there. And there we are. Part 3 of the example to do page.